We will start, Mr. Steinworth.
Well, thank you very much. I'd first like to thank the San Bernardino Chamber of Commerce for inviting me here today. My name is Mark Steinworth. It has been an honor to serve for these last 2 years. Since elected to be your state assembly member, I've been a consensus builder and I've been effective. I've been endorsed by every single mayor and every single city council member of every single city in the 40th Assembly District, and that's never happened before, and I'm very proud of it. I'm a small business owner, so I understand what it's like doing business in California. That's why I'm the only candidate endorsed by the California Small Business Association and the National Federation of Independent Businesses, and the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. As a father of 2 school-aged children, ensuring our children receive a quality education is important to me. I've worked to increase investment in career and technical training programs, and I fought to keep education tax dollars where they belong, in the classroom. That's why I'm the only candidate endorsed by the education leaders across the 40th Assembly District, including our very own Dr. Margaret Hill, who was my vice principal in middle school. I understand the only way to have a successful community is to have a safe community. That's why I'm opposed to the harmful policies like Proposition 47 and AB 109, and I've introduced legislation to eliminate loopholes that allow criminals to purchase and own guns. That's why I'm the only candidate endorsed by cops and firefighters we trust, including San Bernardino Police Chief Jared Bergwan, Redlands Police Chief Mark Garcia, and San Bernardino County Sheriff John McMahon, as well as the California Professional Firefighters. I have made myself accessible and accountable. I look forward to answering your questions this evening.
Thank you. In the shadow of Ashley Furniture relocating their manufacturing facility to another more business-friendly state, and not out of the United States, but to another state, with the consequences of losing almost 900 jobs locally, how do you respond to the change that California is one of the most difficult states for businesses because of our overtaxation and our over-regularization? What would your plan be to stop this exodus of businesses from California, bearing in mind that the legislation has abolished both redevelopment and enterprise zones in the state?
Well, thank you very much. I am a small business owner. I've been a small business owner for over 19 years. And I'll tell you that Sacramento has very few small business owners in the legislature. And their policies are killing local businesses. For example, recently Sacramento passed the $15 minimum wage bill. I think that is a terrible decision for local businesses. I think the Ashley Furniture closure is a direct result of that. I think that if you look at the 800 plus jobs that were lost locally here, they talk about the factory closing, and the factory will be reopened with 50 jobs. Now what's going to happen with the remaining 750? Automation. Automation is going to be the next $15 minimum job. Our young people will not have the opportunities to start their careers here in California, and I'm deeply saddened by that. And it's getting worse every year. Currently, Sacramento just passed and reauthorized the cap and trade program. And my opponent, Abigail Medina, supports this. She's written an op-ed supporting the cap and trade program, which increases the regulatory climate in Sacramento, which is making it absolutely difficult for industries to be successful in our state. California is waging a war on small businesses, and I can't support it.
How will the proposed increased gasoline tax, along with the proposed road use fee, impact the region? Not only in terms of the average family budget, but the entire logistic industry upon which so many Inland Empire residents depend on their jobs and livelihood.
When I ran for office in 2014, I made a promise that I was going to fight the gas tax, and I kept it. We fought it, and we won. Now there's a new proposal. Again, another up to 76 cents per gallon. And my opponent, Abigail Medina, supports the idea of passing along a up to 76 cents per gallon gas tax to the working families of the Inland Empire. We pay enough already. We already have the highest gas taxes in the nation. Now, I introduced a bill, AB 1569, that would provide a CEQA exemption that would basically allow us to go onto our existing roads and bridges and repair them with potholes and fix them so that we can be able to reverse and get to our jobs. And the chairman of the committee looked across from me and said, "Nice try. If you want to fix the roads, you need to vote for a tax." Well, I'm sorry, that's extortion. I will not agree to the extortion of our Inland Empire families. I do not agree with the road user fees. We pay enough. And frankly, if they need more money, they can take it from the bullet train.
Which, if any of the current propositions, should be approved by the voters?
Thank you. I really enjoyed Proposition 54. This is the legislative transparency bill. It requires that before a bill goes before us on the California State Assembly floor, it needs to be printed or online for up to 72 hours. And I'll tell you why it's important. There are days where we are provided a bill within an hour of being required to vote on it. There is absolutely no way we can know what the unintended consequences of that legislation will be. And it's usually the result of backroom deals. I think that transparency, putting the sunlight and daylight on it, will allow us to be able to know what's in it and know how it impacts our region. But I do want to take a moment, since I have a little bit of extra time, to talk about a bill I absolutely abhor, Proposition 57. It basically is Proposition 47 on steroids. It eliminates the judges and the district attorneys from the reduction of sentencing time for felons that are convicted of what they consider nonviolent offenses. I'd like to just read a list, if I might, of what are considered nonviolent offenses. Rape by intoxication, rape of an unconscious person, human trafficking involving a sex act with minors, drive-by shooting, assault with a deadly weapon, taking a hostage, domestic violence involving trauma, possession of a bomb or weapon of mass destruction, hate crime causing physical injury, arson causing great bodily injury, discharging a firearm on school grounds, corporal injury to a child, or false imprisonment of an elderly person. And this is just a partial list. This is a fraud that's being perpetrated on the voters of our state, and I really would like everyone to please research this. Do not get fooled the way that the voters were fooled on Proposition 47.
Bearing in mind that the cost per incarcerating individuals in California is one of the highest in the nation, $45,000 per year in California, as opposed to $13,000 per year in Texas. What is your opinion on prisons being run by the private industry?
You know, 2 years ago when I ran for this office, I think my easy answer would have been that we needed to build more prisons. But I've learned a lot more since then. And frankly, the policies of AB 109 and Proposition 47 has emptied a lot of the prisoners out of prison, either put them onto our streets here in San Bernardino, or they've moved them to our county jails. We're putting criminals into neighborhoods. Sacramento is pro-prisoner. And those policies are policies that my opponent, Abigail Medina, supports, including allowing felons to vote while incarcerated and serving the remainder of their terms in jail. There's 50,000 of those felons that have been moved to jail to serve their terms. I don't believe that we should allow a private company to run a prison. I think, frankly, the best way for us to look at how we can bring efficiencies is to have the conversation with the prison guards specifically. I think they would make the best recommendations for how we can invest towards their safety, to make sure that they have a safe environment so they can come home alive from their job, and also where they think they find waste and abuse. You couldn't pay me enough to do that job. That is an incredibly difficult task, and I am grateful for the correctional officers every single day that suit up and go in there and guard us from the worst that we have in California.
With the ongoing drought in the state, what is your opinion about the fact that about 70% of California's snowmelt and rainfall simply flows into the ocean because of various environmental issues? What must be done to capture this resource and reverse the drought, bearing in mind that a large percent of the state is a desert?
We need more above groundwater storage, period. We are wholly dependent on Northern California. We in Southern California have not invested anywhere near as much as we should, and when it does rain, we don't capture that rainfall. I had an opportunity to be in the Central Valley recently, and when you speak to anybody there and you say that you're from Southern California, the immediate response is, "You're welcome. You're welcome. You get our water. You're welcome." You should say thank you now. So we are fortunate here in the Inland Empire. We have fully adjudicated water rights. We have a water table that is very high. We have an estimated 7 to 9 years worth of reserves below our feet. We have done a great job with Seven Oaks Dam and the spreading ponds and the basins out in our area to be able to make sure that we are constantly recharging the water into the ground. The rest of California is not doing it the same way. but specifically Southern California, we have a great opportunity for us to think big, think really big. Let's not be dependent on the snowpack. Let's not be dependent on all of the different reservoirs in Northern California. Let's build those here. Let's create those jobs here. And let's get the bullet train for the funding. Let's bring the funding from the bullet train here to Southern California where we can use the water well.
Are public sector pensions such as PERS sustainable? And if not, what must the state do to meet that obligation?
Well, I will agree that a contract made is a contract honored. And I do believe that if we're looking at any of the pension reforms, it needs to be going forward. I grew up, my father was in the Air Force, and it's a contract where he knew that his job was not going to be compensated a large amount, but he would, if he made the contract, finish his 20 years and have a pension. And I think anybody in this system currently, we need to follow through on our obligations. But for people that are looking to join, if it's a new contract that's discussed, negotiated, and agreed to by both parties, that's fair.
What would you do to help the growing senior population that California has seen?
Well, first, I think we need to stop with the war on seniors. Sacramento is creating more and more policies that make it more difficult for seniors to survive. For example, back to the minimum wage. When we look at the minimum wage, we have to understand that that goes through and is passed through to every cost and goods of all of the services that are provided. Seniors are on a fixed income. If I have a minimum wage passed through to me, I can work more hours. If I'm on a fixed income, I don't have that ability. So we're going to price seniors out of California. Second, we need to make sure that we stand behind Proposition 13. Proposition 13 was put into place for this very reason, so that seniors are not priced out of California. And I'll tell you, for the 2 years that I've been representing the 40th Assembly District in Sacramento, Proposition 13 has been under siege. They've called it split roll. They've talked about different methods by which you should only have one home. You should not have it go towards your investment property or towards a business or subsequently. But any increase in the cost of doing business will be passed on to the consumer. And again, that consumer will ultimately be our seniors. I promise that I will continue to protect Proposition 13, and I will make sure that I will always be a steadfast ally and a voice on behalf of our senior population.
What is your view on teacher tenure?
Well, I remember teacher tenure was established really to protect college professors who taught controversial topics, and it has been expanded to now it's covering all teachers, and I just don't know how necessary it is for K through 12 teachers. I do believe that we need to constantly promote successful teachers. We need to do everything we can to encourage innovation in the classroom and to be able to build them up because they are shaping our future. I did support a bill this last year that would allow a tax credit for teachers who purchase classroom supplies with their own money. I think any opportunity we have to benefit our teachers and our classrooms and keep the money where it belongs in the classrooms, we should really encourage. I don't know that teacher tenure is achieving that.
What changes, if any, do you believe necessary for the Public Utility Commission?
I will continue along that vein. The PUC is wholly appointed by the governor, and they answer only to him. And no matter what impact our letters would have, we really did not know. When there was a proposed gas pipeline down Valencia, my office was inundated with public's opinion and outcry, and the testimony in front of the PUC seemed almost disadvantageous to them. I believe that we need to bring the accountability to the local level. We can handle a lot of our issues dealing with our water districts, with a lot of other issues, all locally. I think that we should be able to work with the Utilities Commission the same way. Thank you again to the San Bernardino Chamber of Commerce. I hope this evening you had your questions answered about where I stand on the issues that matter most to our community. I grew up in San Bernardino. My father was stationed at Norton Air Force Base, and I moved here in 1980. I know what the city used to be and what it could be in the future. Serving you in the state legislature has been an honor, but it is not an easy job. It's a job that I've taken very seriously. And honestly, I already have a job. I have an advertising agency that I continue to run every day. I don't need this job. I do this as a service. I do this as my way to give back to the community that has given me so much. Over the past 2 years, I have held community coffees, attended city council meetings, hosted veterans resource fairs, job fairs, and even sponsored the cost of pet adoption in our local shelters. I have been everywhere I need to be and more. That is why I'm the only candidate endorsed by every single mayor and every single city council member in the 40th Assembly District, along with education leaders, business leaders, and all of public safety. On election day, you have a serious decision to make. I will protect Proposition 13 and make sure that your property taxes don't skyrocket. My opponent will vote to abolish the protections of Prop 13, which will hurt our seniors and working families, many which will be forced to move out of the state. I will fight against the 76 cents per gallon gas tax increase. We pay enough already. My opponent supports this policy, increasing the tax on gasoline. I will continue to protect our communities from the criminals being released onto our streets due to AB 109 and Proposition 47. My opponent supports both of these damaging proposals. The thing is, our community is at a tipping point. We can't afford to be hit anymore. We need to expand opportunities for our young people, keep our communities safe, and ensure good paying jobs for our talented workforce. I can and have done that. No one will ever outwork me. I ask for your vote on November 8th.